What's up, guys? Today I'm going to be sharing a few tips and tricks for you. That's right, you guessed it. There's 4x4 quarter-inch walls sitting in your boy's truck, so you know what I'm going to tell you. Columns. I'm going to show you how to cut consistently when you're making something like base plates, or you just need to do continuous cuts with a torch. I'm going to show you a couple of tricks to that. My guy Josh is in the background. He's cutting some holes for the base plates. We're getting ready to do a stairway and landing job. Got a half-inch plate here, which is fairly easy to cut, you know, in the grand scheme of cutting things with a torch. Alright guys, well there it is, and as you can see where I preheat more right at the beginning, my cut is just a little bit cleaner than the rest. The more you preheat, the cleaner the cut you're going to get, but the problem is when you're using Sharpies, right as you get to where your preheat is perfect, the Sharpie disappears. So that's another tip. You can use a Sharpie as a heat pen to check your preheat. Alright, so what you see here is a half-inch 12x12 plate that I torch cut. Not the best torch cut ever, but not the worst. And the layout you see here obviously matches up to our 4x4 pattern. Because this is a 12x12 piece of plate, what I did was I knew that there'd be 4 inches on this side, 4 inches on that side. So I went ahead and I went and got my speed square out and squared it out so that our 4-inch column would be centered. My buddy Josh, who was working on this job with me, blew these holes out with my mag drill. For this, and what makes this job super easy if you're going to be doing a lot of 4x4 columns, I highly suggest you buy these Fireball Speed Square tools. The reason I like these is because they are 4 inches. So what I'll do is I'll line this up using the 12-inch edge that I didn't cut because I know that's perfectly square. I'll line it up like that. I'll get it right to the edge, square it with the edge, and then I throw my clamp on. There we go. So now that we've got this squared up, let's go over to the column, and then you just simply set it on there just like so. And then you want to use your lines that you gridded out earlier to go ahead and make sure that it is accurately centered. Okay, this looks pretty well centered to me. It's definitely a little crooked, but we'll adjust that with a hammer in a minute. Now what I like to do is break out an F-clamp. And I go ahead and I use that from my column to my square attachment. And I just go ahead, give that a little squeeze, nothing crazy. Don't want to get it too tight because we want some adjustability because this thing is not perfectly squared yet, although it is very, very close. We take our second Fireball tool square, and we're going to do that very much like we did the first one. We're going to come over here. And we're going to go ahead and get our clamp on with a vice grip style clamp. Just kind of square it up with our hand and then pop that one on. We're going to use an F clamp on the bottom. This time I'm going to move the clamp forward because there simply isn't room with the other F clamp on there. All right, so you can see it looks pretty good, but you can see we're starting to get an edge opening up going down. So let's follow that and see if it's open. It is. You see that little space? Okay, so I'll show you how I address that. And this corner needs to go in, it seems. But you want to make sure that when you're hammering, you're not bouncing the metal off of itself because it will do that and you'll create more of a separation. So you just need to look. Okay, but now I can feel the flange is slipping down. Hammer it back into place. It feels nice and flush there. Make sure everything's squared out. Oh, that's perfect. Okay. So I'll show you the lines. All right. So now you can see no more gap. It's perfectly aligned right there. Perfectly aligned towards the top. Perfectly aligned. Oh, perfectly aligned towards the bottom. So now we're going to go ahead, tack this thing in all four corners. So I'm using a real old miller machine because it's what I got, okay? I ain't balling like some of these welders out here. It's a Millermatic 250X that I picked up for $900 at the school gun about 4 years ago from my friend Greg. Greg, shout out, here's to you, buddy. Thanks for helping me get started in this business. Greg's a great dude, and he's actually another local mobile welder. But anyway, we'll talk about that another day. I'm gonna come over here, and I wanna actually set up pretty well. I wanna set my voltage up to 24, and I'm kind of guesstimating. I may adjust these settings as I go, and I think 300 inches per minute, let's say 320-ish inches per minute, should work perfect for this application, but they may not. If they don't, I'll come back and adjust it, and I'll let you guys know. We are running 035 solid wire and using 75-25 shielding gas that I'll be using at about 15 CFM. So let's tack this thing up, see how it runs, and if it runs good enough, then we're gonna burn it in. So before we get started, I want to give a quick little shout out to Black Stallion. They sent me some gloves, they sent me this nifty little cap that's got this little flapping inside of it, and they also sent me this neck protector. You guys know I'm a fan of the leather ones, but for shop use, this cloth one is great. So thanks guys, I really appreciate it. And I'm also repping my Weld.com jacket because, you know, Weld.com hooked your boy up with some PPE, you know, Weld.com. But anyway, let's go ahead and tack this baby. See if I'm happy with how it's flowing with the tacks. And if I am, we're gonna pull our clamps, weld it out. Another quick tip while you're MIG welding, you wanna make sure that if you got one of these little BBs stuck on the end of your MIG wire there, you wanna nip that off. And the reason is that's gonna create resistance when you go ahead and make your weld, and it's gonna make it harder for the weld to start puddling than it would be if that BB didn't exist. You also want an 1/8 to a 1/4 inch stick out when you first start welding, depending on where you're welding and what your conditions are.
Is this for you?
Yeah, my wife. Now we've got our tacks on. The flange is all squared up. I don't really got to worry about it. And what I'm going to do to make this simple is I'm going to go ahead and run all of my passes on the top, and I'm going to run them obviously pushing because we're using MIG and we're using gas shielded. And I'm just going to roll the column. That's why I left it in the bed of my truck, to make it easier to roll. You want to do everything the easiest way you can do it, okay guys? I know we want to challenge sometime, we want to run uphill vertical, and that's cool if that's your bag, but it's not mine. My bag is to make as much money as I can, as quick as I can, and do the job as good and as easiest as I can. So let's go ahead and push this thing out, weld it up. So we gotta cut that fucking thing out because the wind started blowing on me. That's fucking annoying. All right, well that didn't work out because it's just too goddamn windy today to do that. So I'm gonna switch to using my stick welder, and I'm gonna use some 7018 because every time I try to put a weld down, I'm getting really bad porosity. We don't want that in a structural column. So here's the weld I cut out, and I'm sorry I can't get a good view of it. This camera's just kind of a piece of crap. I'm trying my best over here, but anyway, trust me when I tell you there's porosity, and you can see by the unevenness right there, that's porosity, that big chunk. Actually didn't look too bad on the inside when I cut it out, but this isn't acceptable. So we're gonna go ahead and switch to using my stick welder. So our welder's set to 130 amps, and that's exactly where I want it. That's what I was using the other day when I was on the job. So I'm going to be using a Hobart 1/8 inch 7018 H4 rod, H4R. looks pretty good. It's pretty good. All right, not perfect, but definitely within standards. All right, guys, well, this is a short little presentation on how to build yourself some columns. If you're gonna get into the welding industry, more likely than not, you're gonna be building columns too. It's not my least favorite thing to do in this industry. I actually really don't mind. It's, you know, usually a quick little process. You can knock out a bunch of these in a day. Makes it better if you got two welders because you can have one guy fit and one guy weld, which on the job that I'm on right now, I let Josh weld because he is the better welder, and it helps to know that. But anyway, guys, I'm Melton Metal Anthony. If you like what you saw here today, like, subscribe, share, do the whole nine for your boy, all right? I'm sharing as many tips and tricks that I know in this industry as I can, all right? And go check out weld.com, all right? If you got any questions, go ahead and head over to weld.com's forum. Don't ask me. I'm not a freaking welding expert, but I am a money-making expert. So if you got any money-making questions, you can send those over to me. All right, guys, keep dragging rod, keep pushing me, keep doing what you do, and I'll catch you on the next video.